That July morning, I woke up early around 5 a.m. with the sound of heavy summer storm outside. The night before, I already made plans that I will go to Munich again to visit the museum, and now I thought that I should change my plans because of the rain and stay at home. Still, I tried to ignore the fact that outside is pouring like from the bucket and stick to my day trip plan. My friends, if we want to achieve something in this world, no weather distractions are allowed. I took an hour 40 minutes train ride from Nuremberg to Munich, and the idea was to go to visit the museum Alte Pinakothek. But since I arrived an hour before the museum was opening, I decided to go to visit this small piece of jungle in the middle of the concrete jungle of Munich, drink some morning cappuccino, and do some drawing practice. Guys, this place felt like time travel to Thailand or India. The cafe is called Café Luitpold, huge coffee house located in a grand 19th century building. I saw photos of it in Instagram with these beautiful tropical plants and palms and lush greenery, so I just had to come to check it out. I haven't been in a real jungle tropical environment since more than 3 years, and I love the rainforest vibes, so I really missed being surrounded with a bit of wildness. I know this is far away from the real jungle vibes, but it was enough for me to bring back some really great and dear memories. I'm not sure if I ever shared this with you, but from March 2016 till March 2018, I was living with my husband Ugi in Bangalore, India. He got a chance to go there on a 2-year work delegation, so since we are both very adventurous persons, we immediately said yes to this chance. Those 2 years that we spent in India and traveling all around Southeast Asia were definitely one of the most exciting years of my life. I grew so much there as a person. I learned a lot about Indian culture, people, their rituals and way of living, which is so much more different than the lifestyle of people living in Europe. It was a very big eye-opener for me to realize how extreme materialistic are most of the people in Europe, especially Western countries like Germany, and how consumption here is way too high than necessary. And since I'm not a materialistic person, I'm more of a spiritual type, I adapted to the new environment very quick. Maybe I should actually mention that I felt in Southeast Asia much more understood and freer of many society expectations and models of life that we in Europe usually suffer from. When we came back to Germany after 2 years of living in a very different world than Europe, I had such a big cultural shock from the surroundings, people behaving, conversations everyone around me was having, European value system and beliefs. I was even shocked how much grey are all the buildings and streets and how little are people connected with nature here. Okay, don't get me wrong, there's so many good things about life in Europe, like for example, very good organized healthcare system, which is a very, very important thing, and all the other privileges that come with being born in Europe. But there are some rituals and values and habits that are part of everyday life in countries like India or Thailand or Vietnam that I think we in Europe would benefit a lot and be so much happier if we would try to incorporate them in our daily routines. Anyway, I started this short story introduction about my period in India only to explain you why I love so much jungle vibes, when did I for the first time fall in love with them, why I miss them, and the reason why they make me so happy and nostalgic. Unfortunately, back then in Asia, I was not so much into filmography, but much more into photography, so I don't have almost any video clips from that period. Only thousands and thousands of photos. But if you are interested in some of my next videos, I can share with you some interesting and exciting stories from the travelings back then, and maybe a small sneak peek into some of the photos. Okay, let's go back to the present moment. The people working here in Café Luitpold in Munich were amazing. They allowed me filming here for more than an hour, and they were very kind and polite. I felt like I had the whole space just for myself for filming, without anyone disturbing me. It is so heartwarming to meet good people nowadays, who are smiling to you without any special reason, and who want to support you even without knowing or understanding what are you really doing. It is amazing when people who don't really know or never talk to you understand you much better than the people who actually know you for many years but will probably never understand you. Anyway, I was happy with the outcome of my drawing here, this funny girl portrait. I used a reference photo from the internet because, to be honest, it is so much easier to work with a reference photo. I was not sure if I will change something on the drawing when I come home, but for now it looked okay. And it was slowly time for the museum Alte Pinakothek to get open, so I packed my stuff and went outside. Until I arrived to Alte Pinakothek, it actually stopped raining, which made me so happy to know that, in the morning, I didn't allow myself to get distracted by the rain and change my initial plans. So, my friends, welcome to Alte Pinakothek in Munich. Alte Pinakothek is one of the oldest galleries in the world and houses a significant collection of old master paintings. The name Alte Pinakothek refers to the time period covered by the collection, from the 14th to the 18th century. It has a very big collection of Rembrandt and Rubens, which I was so excited to see. I've always loved going to museums and galleries. Since my father was a painter, already as a child, I got to understand the importance of going to museums of classical art and learning from the old masters. My father taught me that in order to be a great artist, no matter if we are talking about painting or writing or acting or architecture or any other art discipline, we cannot skip its basics and its history. In order to be able to make abstract art or to build our own style, we first have to learn the technology of art, color theory, foundations of drawing, human proportions, and so on. And there is no better place on earth to dive deeper into these problematics than museums of classical art, like for example Alte Pinakothek in Munich. The stronger our art foundation is, the more we will be able to develop our art, to grow it, and to progress. Also, the more we know and understand the importance of starting to learn from the basics, the more we expose ourselves to the big masterpieces of classical art, the more we will try to learn and discover what is more out there in the world of art. Let's take architecture as an example. In order to design a cute little wooden cottage hanging on the tree in our garden, we have to learn static, perspective, understand the materials and many other things. Otherwise, it may happen that our treehouse doesn't hang for long on the tree. Hopefully, we're not inside if that happens. Also, learning from the masters in the Museum of Classical Art is not only part of our art education, but also a great place for inspiration and for developing our artistic sensibility towards design, harmony, intention, balance, rhythm, contrast, shape, construction, lighting, and so on. The more time we spend trying to analyze the classical art, our art standards will get higher and our art world will get richer. And to add one more thing, museums are not only made for artists. Every person should go to museums. Art is and should be available to everyone. It belongs to everyone. We all have to nourish our soul with beautiful paintings, books, music, movies. Okay, we can talk about this topic for hours, but this video still has to finish at some point. Here's my good old friend Dürer. Came with me today in the morning from Nuremberg, also to visit Arte Pinakothek. After I was done with the second floor of the museum, I went to check out the exhibition at the ground floor, and I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw that the collection of the Neue Pinakothek, or New Pinakothek Museum, due to its renovation, has borrowed this amazing collection of the paintings from the period from Goya to Manet and displayed them here in Arte Pinakothek. Some of everyone's favorite artists were exhibited here, like Van Gogh, Gauguin, Monet, Manet, Cézanne, and other great artists. Here are Van Gogh's sunflowers. By the way, I read that Van Gogh painted a total of 11 of sunflower canvases, although the most commonly referred to are the 7 he painted while in Arles in 1888 to 1889, and the other 5 he had painted previously while in Paris in 1887. And one very fun anecdote that I found online. One of the Vincent sunflowers is part of the collection of National Gallery of London, and former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, also known as Iron Lady, once asked to see Van Gogh's chrysanthemums. Nobody thought to correct her. I remember when I was younger, I was in love with the paintings from Pierre Bonnard. He was for a long time my favorite artist, until I fell in love with Klimt and Schiele. So my favorite artist is changing all the time. At the end of this long museum visit, I passed through the museum shop, and I didn't plan to buy anything, but then I saw these beautiful magnetic bookmarks with Monet's water lilies and 2 other of his paintings, and I just had to buy them. I took 3 of them, one for me, one for my mom, and one for my sis. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this art vlog with me. More of the similar content is coming, so subscribe not to miss it. Thank you for being here and for all of your nice comments. Take care. Bye bye.